I'm Diane Phillips from Cranston. I've never been politically active until now. I am absolutely horrified at who we have as President of the United States. I am sick of the lies, and do not call them falsehoods. I don't like the scandals that are happening. I don't like him alienating our friendly nations. I am amazed at that. Inciting enemies who have nuclear weapons, who are more than happy to lob one over to California just as a test. Or for kissing enemies of our democracy who are undermining us, and he is hiding so much. And I really, really want you to fight very hard to investigate what's going on in Russia with the Russian connections, and certainly we need his taxes in order to see where he is and who he is. So I'd like to know what you are doing about this, because you're my representatives and I need your strength. There is so many people out there. The journalists are afraid to ask hard questions or they'll be thrown out of the press conferences. I mean, where does this ever stop? And this normalization is just wrong. I need you to represent us and end this nonsense. Nothing should be happening in our government. Nothing should be passed until we know this.
We have proposed a series of legislative initiatives. I think Sheldon and I are both, most of these, including requirement to a president to release his taxes. That would be a statutory requirement. We have written to the government ethics office about the emoluments clause, where the Constitution makes it unconstitutional to accept emoluments from foreign governments, etc. We are pressing along all those lines. And it is, I must say, it is not entirely a Democratic initiative. We have support. As I said originally, Senator McCain and I months ago called for a joint committee to investigate all the activities with respect to the Russians. And we're going to keep that up. And this has to be a focus of what we do, not in a rich copper job of sort of name calling, but substantively pointing out the real facts, substantively demanding real policies, real answers, and do that constantly. And I can assure you, working with Sheldon, Jim, and David, that's something we try to do every day.
If I could, I just wanted to let you know that like Senator Reid and Senator Whitehouse, I'm on multiple bills to thoroughly investigate the Russian influence and interference with our elections. I have myself filed a bill to create a joint House-Senate Select Committee to investigate the Russian interference with our elections and influence that they may have had. Also, the interaction that the Trump campaign may have had with the Russians, both the campaign, the transition, and the current administration. And we need to look at a variety of things, including, by the way, I'm also a co-sponsor of a 9/11 style independent commission. So whether we do a joint House-Senate Select Committee to investigate it, or we do a 9/11 style commission, or we have, as Senator Reid has already mentioned, a special prosecutor. I support all of that. And we need to get to the bottom of everything. Let's peel back the veil of secrecy. Let's get all the information out there. I think the American people have a right to know.
I have the happy circumstance of being the ranking Democrat on a Senate committee whose chairman has already said, yes, we're going to go and we're going to investigate this. So Senator Brain and I are already on that. We've already had the first hearing, and we are actively planning what the future hearings are going to be as well. One of the people who testified in our first hearing was the woman who wrote for the Center for Strategic International Studies the definitive work on Russian election interference, which is called the Kremlin Playbook. And when you get home, Google Kremlin Playbook, and you can either print it out or read it online. It's free, and it reads like a novel. It's really impressive. And one of the things that they describe as the constant tool in the Russian election manipulation toolbox, all through the former Soviet states and now down into Europe, is that they get people entangled in business arrangements. Really lucrative business arrangements that look a lot like maybe even bribes. And then they've got the person, because they can do one of two things. They can keep bribing them and keep them more or less on the payroll, or they can blow the whistle on them and out them as having been basically on the payroll, and that threat allows them to control the politician who now fears that their dealings will be exposed. So other witnesses pointed out that the only way you can really understand whether that's happening is if you have access to tax returns and financial documents. So that's kind of the obvious direction that this is leaving. And the second thing is we're going to be asked next to do tax reform. We can't do tax reform without his tax returns. Right? How would you know what he wants isn't just for the sake of his own companies if you don't have access to the tax returns? So no tax reform without tax returns is where I